Hello and welcome to Mission Submission. I'm Jack Zaino, a choral editor, clinician, and writer here at Alfred Music, and today's video is all about what to do when you've written a piece of music and want to get it out there into the world. We'll talk about how to decide if publishing is a good choice for you, and I plan to share with you a ton of practical strategies and tips from my experience in the biz about how to put together a strong submission when you approach a publisher for the first time. Let's go. So let's start by asking, what can a music publisher do for you, a writer? Why would you want to have your music published in the first place? And one of the primary reasons that people want to be published is reach. When you're with an established publisher, your music simply reaches more people because your publisher will spend resources, time, and a lot of money to get your music in front of as many eyes as possible. That includes having professional marketing staff that are always thinking about the best times to advertise your music, where to do it, what medium to do it in. And that includes sending clinicians on the road so that people can experience and sing your music in real time. One of the most valuable reasons that people look for a traditional publisher is editorial support. We're all better writers after our editor has taken a look at our music and given us some input. And collaboration really is the name of the game in the traditional publishing world. So if your piece is accepted, your editor will hold your hand and root for you the entire process from start to finish. It's not unlike applying to like a school or university because they have a really good voice teacher. People do that with publishers too, that they want to establish a relationship with an editor. So the editor's job, one of them, is to make sure that your ideas and your unique voice as a composer, arranger, come across as clearly as possible to your audience. So an editor will work with you, sometimes over several weeks, to make suggestions and tweaks to your piece. It's more than just checking spelling and chord symbols and things like that. This person really is being your musical support. They're not trying to change your music or rewrite your music, or say that they even have all the answers to everything. It's more about raising questions, communicating them clearly, and then working together to find a solution that will truly make your piece sparkle and make it the best possible product, I think. Another thing that a publisher does for you is keep track of all the logistics. So that means you don't have to think about registering your piece with ASCAP, or how many should I print and how much will it cost to do that? Or do I need to send more copies to a retailer that ran out? Or do I need to send festival copies? Or I need to think about licensing my music when someone wants to use it for a different purpose? You don't need to think about running an online store. The publisher does those things for you, as well as making a professional recording. Most publishers will do this. And here at Alfred, we record everything we publish. We work with some of the best studios in the US to get it done, and we're very proud of that we're able to offer these services as a publisher to our writers so that you, the writer, can continue to produce the best music for us and focus on the artistry. In addition to listing your music on our website and showing it in clinics and catalogs and things like that, publishers work with retailers to make sure that your music is being carried in their stores. Sometimes you'll hear them called dealers. These are the places where people buy their music, and some people go straight to a retailer to look for their music. So we make sure that the descriptions are on retailer websites. We make sure that there might be sample pages or audio, whatever assets are needed. It's important to know the difference between a publisher and a retailer. Which brings me to our next segment. It's time to play, is it a publisher or is it a retailer? Let's play. So let's go. You probably already know that in the world of regular books, Barnes & Noble, Amazon.com, they're retailers. Now I know, you can self-publish your own books on Amazon.com, but in general, they're considered a retailer because they sell stuff. Scholastic and Penguin Random House are publishers. I know. You can go to the Scholastic Book Fair, and I love it too, buy your books right there. But in general, we consider them publishers because they create content that will be carried in retail stores. So what does this mean in the world of music publishing? Well, let's think about Alfred. Alfred is a publisher, traditionally, that you would submit to. I know, you can buy music on alfred.com and download it right there. But traditionally, they're considered a publisher in general. And there's many, many publishers out there that do similar things and have different specialties. Retailers exist as well that will carry the music created by the publishers. I know, you can self-publish your music on many of these websites too, but in general, they're considered retailers. A traditional publisher like Alfred will work with these retailers, with these dealers, to get your music onto the shelves and promote it in their catalogs as well. It can be daunting to think about where you might want to send your music as a submission, which publisher, but start to notice each of the publishers' different specialties. Collect their catalogs, go on their websites. What kind of music are they promoting? Who do they publish for? Some publishers specialize in school music, or church music, or music for a certain age group, or occasion, or part of the world, or whatever. But find a publisher that publishes music similar to the kind that you write and can reach the market that you're looking to get into. So the obvious question is, what is Alfred looking for in a submission? What kind of music do we publish? Well, we publish choral music of all types. From folk songs to spirituals to holiday music to masterwork arrangements to composed pieces, Latin settings, serious Alice Parker concert works to novelty Jack Zaino music. We really run the gamut on everything. But there are certain things that we're looking for at certain times. So for example, right now we don't really publish church music. We focus on music for the concert hall or public school, because that's really where our market is. Now, if it happens to be appropriate for a church too, then that's a bonus. But don't send a submission that is only appropriate for church. That will show that, oh, you're just sending it in because it's a publisher. Similarly, we want to look at submissions that are already in a format that we publish. So we don't do very much unison lead sheet music in the choral space. We're looking for choral arrangements. We also don't do large multi-movement works very much. So we're not interested in those big resume builder pieces that are, 16-part choir for a very professional or collegiate group. But find a publisher that does and send it there. Look through our catalog and see the kinds of music that we publish, and perhaps yours will be a good fit for us, and we hope that it is. We are looking for music that is fresh, that is artistic, that is approachable, that makes a great deal of sense, that's a pleasure to sing, and people will enjoy for years to come. So if you want to be published here at Alfred, do some of your homework and go through our website and see if you can find a recent-ish publication by us that's in a similar style or a similar market to yours. But not too similar. Like if we had a recent publication of, Amazing Grace set in a gospel style, let's say that was 1 or 2 years ago, we probably won't want another one so soon because we want to give that composer a chance to really have a hold on their market. If you can attend an Alfred reading session or visit us at a booth or visit us online, do that. Make yourself known. Get in there. Ask some questions. Participate so that we can start to put a name to the face. And then when that submission comes in, we'll recognize who it was from. It's perfectly acceptable to say, hey, I saw you in Arizona. I saw you in Massachusetts, wherever we were, so that we can make a connection to you when we get your submission in. Here at Alfred, we make it very easy for you to submit your music. You can go to alfred.com/submissions, and there will be a music submissions link. In fact, you can submit other things like blog articles and quick tips. But if you click on music and then go to choral, you'll see that we'll want to have a clean PDF score of your music, audio, and audio generated by a notation program is perfectly fine. There's no expectation that you will send in, a professional choir recording of your piece. In fact, only do that if it's going to enhance the perception of your piece. And a notation file. It does not matter what program you use. You can create wonderful, wonderful results in any notation program, whether it's one you download or one that's completely online. There's plenty of options there. As long as it can spit out a PDF and audio, you're good to go. and a description of your piece. Keep it super short. Let the music speak for itself. Remember, our reviewers are looking through hundreds and hundreds of submissions. So the more you can say in the fewer amount of words, do that. Also, you don't need to send us every component. So if your piece will work in multiple voicings like SAB and two-part and SSA, things like that, or it might have instrumental parts or something, you can just send the primary voicing with a note of here's the other things that could happen, and that's perfectly fine. If the piece is accepted and we move it to the editorial stage, we'll get that first primary voicing all set up nice, and then we'll say, okay, now it's time to create the other voicings. I would also stick to 1 or 2 submissions at a time. Don't send a giant folder of things. And of course, make sure your piece or the text that you choose or you found is either original or in the public domain. That includes the text and the music or song that you might have arranged. And please only send to one publisher at a time, because sometimes we'll do a little bit of work on your music before sending an acceptance. If we say no thank you to it, or if the reviewers reject it, then you're perfectly free to send it to another publisher, and we encourage you to do that. The timing is also important too. We work towards a big release every spring. This is our current catalog, which includes all of the music that we have worked on for the past year. So we tend to work a year in advance. So the best time to submit to any publisher is when their new catalog comes out, because that means they'll have a clean slate now and are actively looking for music for the following year. The catalog tends to fill up by the end of the year, maybe December. We already know what's going to be published in March or April. So the earlier you can submit in the spring, usually that's the best strategy to go with. So let's say that you've done your research and determined that Alfred is the publisher that you want to submit to. Awesome. Now it's time to think about the actual music. Did you sing through and play through every part? Did you make sure that they're intuitive for the ability level of the choir that you're writing for? Keep in mind that you know your own music more intimately than anybody else, so it's going to automatically make sense to you. You have to put yourself in someone else's shoes. One great way to do this is to find a local choir or a local school to sing through your music for you, even if it's not programmed on a concert. And if that's not possible to get feedback that way, hey, get together, a few friends, hope you have some, and sing through the piece together. Get some feedback from them. See what works, see what doesn't. Print and play through that piano part too. And if you don't play the piano, that's fine. Send it off to a piano friend and have them even just make a recording of themselves sight reading it if they don't have time to give you feedback. You'll be able to tell where those stumbling blocks are, and it will prompt you to revisit those places. If you wrote an original text, or even set a text that exists, read it through without the music. Does it stay on topic? Does it make sense? Does it sound like the only reason certain words are in there is because they rhyme? You'd be surprised how often that happens. Does the subject material reflect the age level of the choir singing it? The best texts really suit all ages. But does it make sense in the style, right? Is it a vernacular type of text with a very classical type of music? Do they go together? Is it something that you can actually envision real people, real kids who are probably tired after a whole day of singing, maybe at a festival, performing on stage and staying engaged? So let's talk about the sheet music itself. This is the product that is being sold. So you want to take the utmost pride in this. Don't just throw it together, right? You want to make it look as good as you can, because remember, no matter what publisher you submit to, those reviewers are looking through hundreds and hundreds, maybe more, of submissions. So you want yours to be as clear as possible. Any notation program can do this. Whatever you choose to use, as long as it can export a PDF and audio, you can have really, really good results. And if you're serious about being a choral writer, then I recommend picking one to invest your time in learning to use really well. And on top of that, like if you have a friend who knows how to use Finale really well, it's worth asking them to look at your score and clean it up for you in preparation for your submission. Of course, a reviewer will never reject or deny a submission because the manuscript doesn't look great. Our job as editors is to help you with that. But anything you can do to make yours rise to the top more and more and more, all the better. Kirby Shaw says, have a great looking score. Find someone who knows more about the layout and look aspect of it than you do, and learn as much as you can from that person. It really does help give your work a polished and professional appearance. And we'll talk about how to do that. Look at other scores from the publisher that you are submitting to. If there's situations that you're not quite sure what they do, when there's stems going in opposite directions or weird situations that are occurring in your music, like for example, if you want to submit a piece with vocal percussion, well, there's no standard way to do that. But look at other pieces published by Alfred that have vocal percussion and see how we did it. And that can help you make yours look similar. You don't have to recreate every single convention or have the paper be the exact size or anything like that. We'll help you with that. But your job is to just make the reviewer's experience more enjoyable so that they have a more positive experience with your piece. Anything you can do to help that will make your submission just that much better. Speaking of being clear, though, make sure your title says what your piece is. Because remember, you have to get people to click on this if it's published. And most people are scrolling through a list or looking through a catalog of title after title after title. So for example, we have a piece called December Canon that we published recently that has beautiful text, but we decided to call this what it is, December Canon. That way you know what you're getting. It doesn't have to mention the form of the song either. Like if you have a novelty song, make sure the title is similarly cute and doesn't sound too serious. You can imply a lot about your piece with just those few words. Whatever it is, it has to get people to click on it and tell me right away, as an editor, as a reviewer, as a customer, what this piece is about. You're going to want to print your piece out and do some good self-editing before you ever send anything in. Make sure those ties and slurs are correct. Make sure your words are spelled correctly and hyphenated correctly and punctuated correctly. And that your lyric extension lines are lined up. All these things that a reviewer would never reject for that reason, but will help your piece be more clear and more professional. And in the process, you'll probably find some musical things that you'll want to rethink too. I think the best way to show this is to grab your red pen. Everyone says I collect too many pens, but I keep it up. And let's look at a real piece of music. I've purposely messed up one of my own songs and we're going to fix it together. So come on over to my screen. Okay, so I've decided to arrange Red River Valley, the folk song, and I want to write an original chorus with some new words. I want to give it sort of a more uplifting feel. I've gone online and looked at other publishers and seen what has been done, and no one has really approached it in this way before, so I think there's a fresh open market for this. I've also done my research to make sure that this is a song that's appropriate for me to even be arranging at all, and this is what I've come up with here. Let's go through and fix a few things. These are things that an editor might come across, and none of them in isolation would preclude Alfred from accepting a piece like this, but it is in our best interest to have the clearest manuscript we can. So I've sung this through, and looking at the beginning here, I noticed that I have a crescendo going to nowhere. Well, it looks like that should really be a mezzo forte, so let me put one in. It also looks like my piano is becoming mezzo forte in the middle of a note, which really isn't possible on the piano. So let's take this and let's move this where I probably intend it to be, is here. I also don't love when a crescendo crosses a bar line. It's not a rule, but I think it's clearer just to write crescendo like that. And I might do the same thing here just to make it the same. Doesn't need to be, but makes it clearer, I think. Though the road may wind and bend. Oh gosh, I see a sentence starting without a capital letter. We gotta fix that. And I also see, though the road may wind and bend, you will always have a They should have a comma after it, shouldn't it? Because this is its own clause. I've got some crashing words here, so let's just move that out of the way to make it a little bit clearer. I also am seeing I have an F right here in the piano, which sounds kind of nice in isolation, but it's happening while the altos are trying to sing a G, an F sharp rather, against a G. So let's go ahead and turn it into a note that's already in this chord. We'll probably make it a G to match. That will make this chord a G add 9 instead of major 9 now. Coming down here, you will always have a friend. Look, I have a similar situation with this D in the soprano and alto against an E and a C sharp. It's kind of sandwiched in between, which there's a lot of notes going on. So let's go ahead and just make this match. Depending on the level I'm writing for, this piano part is very supportive. It's not necessarily doubling, but it is supportive at this level. So we want to make sure we're not having any disagreements between the voices and the piano. You will, oh gosh, I need a place for these people to breathe. Though the road may wind and bend, you will always have a friend. So the best thing to do here is to write that in the form of a rest. Let's make this a quarter note and a quarter rest. This really comes down to writing what you intend for the music to sound like. If you want your singers to breathe in a certain place, then it's okay to write it in. Moving along, I have waiting here in the Red River Valley. Okay, so first of all, let's line these lyrics up and get them out of the way. We want our lyrics to be nice and aligned. One thing I notice is that, well, my word here isn't tied to anything, but there's a line after it, and there doesn't need to be if it's just a single word, so let's get rid of that. However, the word red is moving in the alto alone, so it needs a line after it, and we also want to slur the alto notes there. Even though they're the only ones moving, the altos need a slur. Red River Valley. Here's another place we need a slur. I don't need one in the tenors and basses though, because it's just a single note. And because this word is broken up into 2 syllables, it needs a hyphen in between. And remember what we said? If it's tied to another note and it's the last syllable of a word, then it gets an extension line. Last syllable or only syllable. If it's in the middle of the word, I wouldn't need a line there. But I'm also looking and seeing that, well, this is a proper noun, River Valley. Red River Valley is a proper noun, so we should probably capitalize it. And I should check my dictionary because it's RIV-ER. It's not RI-VER. It's a short consonant, or short vowel rather. But if you type it into Google, type define river into Google, it will come right up with how it should be hyphenated. So we hyphenate things according to the dictionary. Valley is capital. Oh, and look at this. I have an E here. While an F sharp is being played, the altos are trying to sing an E. Let's make that the same so we don't confuse anyone there at this level. What else? Looking back at the whole page. Well, this is an important section, so let's give it a measure rehearsal box there. Taking a look at my text on the next page. 1, 2, this valley that we both share, there is beauty everywhere. Good thing I remembered my breath there. Same thing, looking at the word beauty, if I look in the dictionary, it's B-E-A-U-T-Y. This comes up all the time in choral music. Every really has 3 syllables, but almost all the time we say it as 2. And we need to show that. So the correct way to do it is ev-re with an apostrophe attached to the second syllable. Every. And actually everywhere is one word. So I don't need a line, but I do need a hyphen. Everywhere, it's one word that we've broken up. Waiting here in the... Look at this. I have the same rhythm shown in a couple different ways. We should pick one. Let's match what we've done before this way. By the way, there are standard ways to write rhythms, so I would not want to do another dotted chord note here like that. That would not be correct. We want to make sure we break up our rhythms correctly so that I'm showing beat 3 when there's a syncopation. And we already said that we want to capitalize red, riv. Yep, this is correct. I have it the same way there. Red River Valley. Oh, and look at these slurs. I want to make sure that they attach to the right notes. Val and li are separate. Only time we use slurs in choral music is to show that one syllable is sung across multiple notes. And look how important this E is. 3 different voices are singing it. But if you look down below, I have an F sharp and a D. That's fine, but I really want that E in this chord. So let's put that in there like that. Going through and reading my text, This is about friendship, but as I get to here, this valley that we both share. First of all, this prosody doesn't quite sound right. This valley. The emphasis is not on the right syllable. Maybe I could say something like, in this valley we both share, would put the emphasis in the right place. Val is the accented syllable. It should go on a strong beat. But even then, in this valley we both share, there is beauty everywhere. This sentence doesn't really seem to be on topic to me. This is a song about friendship, so why am I singing about how beautiful the valley is? It doesn't quite make sense. And in a song where I only have a few words that I can use, I want to get the most meaning out of it. So I should really think about something else to go here. That's going to rhyme, that's not going to sound forced. And what I settled on was every day, ev hyphen apostrophe re day. Every day is 2 words. Every day, if it were an adjective, would be 1 word, but this is 2 words. Every day that we're apart, I will hold you in my heart. Oh, and I shouldn't have a period after that because the sentence continues. Let's line up those lyrics. This is much more on topic. I'm talking about someone going on a journey and holding them in my heart while they're gone, supporting them on the way. This is looking done to me. Oh, take a look at measure 43. Let's zoom in here. I'm so glad this happened because I'll be able to show you how to fix it. Take a look at these notes here on have. We really can't have a quarter note starting on the end of beat 2. That's just not a thing. So what we want to do is make this into an 8th note and then tie it over so the syncopation is shown. Now that means since it's tied, I have to put a word extension line under have like that. That looks pretty good. Always have a friend. Now I should check the same thing in the piano. I have a similar situation. So let's take this and turn these into 8th notes. And of course, we'll have to tie them all over. Now we'll need to dot this note here, make it a dotted quarter to fill up the rest of the space. So we've shown beat 3. And then I'm just going to come over here and fix these beams like that. So now I think we're finished. I'm glad we caught that. This is a much stronger submission because it's clear. I've taken care of those small details, and I've written a text that's on topic for what I'm trying to do. Other things I could do is to go through this entire piece and check the dynamics, make sure that they go in the right direction. Make sure I didn't forget any dynamics. Make sure I don't have any crescendos to nowhere. Those kinds of things. Also, if I have a repeat sign and I'm repeating back to a section in the song or a DSL coda or something, is the dynamic different on the repeat? If it is, I have to show that I'm coming from a different dynamic. And if I'm not sure about that, I'll check another published piece which has a similar situation and see if I can match that. I've also gone through to make sure I have a tempo marking at the beginning and to make sure my time signature is there and correct. To make sure my credits are correct, to make sure the title is spelled correctly. Everything that's going to make my piece look polished and professional. Of course, we don't expect your piece to come in perfect. It's our job to work together to get it ready for publication. But the better impression you can make in the beginning, the more likely your piece is to rise up to be accepted. And of course, when I go to export my PDF from this program to send it in online, I'm going to check to make sure that all of the pages are actually there. Of course, I've printed it out on paper to check it at the piano, so I've probably already done that. But just in case, make sure all your pages are actually there. You would be surprised how many submissions we get that have just a page 1 and the rest of the music isn't there. So make sure that all your assets are where they need to be. And when I go to export my audio for this, I'm going to make sure that my repeats play back correctly. I'm going to make sure it's at the right tempo. I'm going to make sure that if it swings, that the swing plays back correctly. If there's a DSL coda, that it works, that the entire piece plays beginning to end, it doesn't cut off in the middle. I'm going to make sure that, there's not a point in the song where one voice part suddenly gets really loud and blows your ears out. You want to check all these things to make sure that your submission is as clear as possible, of course, and it's as pleasant as possible to listen to, and that it isn't going to confuse anyone when a reviewer is side-by-siding your score with the audio. There's no such thing as a perfect submission or maybe even a perfect publication. But in submitting to a publisher, it means you're willing to work with an editor and be collaborative to get your piece to a place that everyone is going to be really, really happy with. That said, we can't accept hundreds and hundreds of submissions every year. So the first thing to know is that if your piece is rejected from Alfred or anywhere else, it doesn't mean that your music is bad or that you need to stop writing. It's so, so important to keep trying. Keep submitting to other publishers. And remember that publishers like Alfred are looking to fill specific slots within the school year. We need a certain number of spirituals, a certain number of folk songs, whatever the case may be. There's no magic criteria for acceptance. I wish there were. Sometimes it is bingo, you just have what that publisher is looking for at that exact moment. And I have to say, we turn down great music all the time, and it pains me every time to do it. But the real reason is a publisher has a responsibility to do you as a composer justice in sales. So if we don't have a reach in the market that you're looking to write in, we want to send you to somewhere where your piece can really, really be successful. We also don't want to publish too much of the same type of music all at the same time, because then it will compete with itself. So for example, if sea shanties are very popular one year, we might be able to take one or two, but we won't want a whole bunch of them because then that will take up the whole catalog. So any publisher is looking for variety in what they put out in a given year. So, to summarize, don't give up, keep submitting, we want to hear from you. Here at Alfred, we love discovering music from people all over the world who send us submissions. It's one of the most exciting things. And it's a teacher in me, I love getting to the end of a project with a new writer and seeing that moment where they can hold the music in their hands for the first time, the power of print as they say, and be super, super proud of it. Publishing is about people. It's about putting music into the world that can improve people's lives and help people learn and teach and play and be the best versions of themselves. And when you publish with a traditional publisher, you get that editorial input. Publishing is a collaborative process by nature. It's an exciting experience, and one that I really encourage you to pursue. I hope you found today's info helpful. I hope you learned something, and I hope to hear from you soon with a submission. Thanks for watching.